Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're out in the garage. I'm changing the brakes on my 2023 1000 XMR. Thought I'd do a quick video to walk you through how I do it. Not to say this is the only way or the best way to do it, but it's a pretty simple DIY job. So I thought I'd make a quick video and show you the steps that I go through when I change my front and rear brakes. So stick around, we'll get into it. So the first thing to know, guys, before you get started is we've got 3 sets of brake pads that we need to replace. So on the rear of the machine, there's only brakes on your right rear tire. There are no brakes, and I don't believe it's standard on any of the machines that they come with brakes on the left side. So you have your 1 rear brake here on the right side, and then obviously your 2 fronts. As far as brake pads go, there's lots of different options, lots of different choices out there. I've been running the EBC brake pads for years now. I've tried different ones over the years, and everything's has its pros and cons. I've had good luck with the EBCs, so that's what I tend to run now, and they're easily accessible to me as well. So if you are going to run EBCs for the Gen 2s, generally speaking, at least for the 650, 850s, and the 1000s, the pads that you're going to need as far as part numbers is FA617R. You need 2 of those. Those are both for your right rear and your right front. And then for the front left, it's an FA618R. So 2 of the 617s and 1 of the 618. So what we're going to do first to start out is I'm going to work on the rear first, just change the 1 on the rear right here. I'm going to jack up the machine, take the tire off, and then I'll show you the caliper and what tools we need to remove that and get the pads out. Okay, so once you get your tire off, and just so you know, the lug nuts on this machine are a 17 mil socket, just so you have that information. And then the other socket that we're going to need once we get into here is we need to remove the caliper off the rotor. So we have a 15 mil, 2 15 mil bolts that we're going to need to remove. So grab your 15 mil socket. We're going to take both of those off. And it looks like there's still some decent pad, at least on the one side here. On my last machine, I waited until about the same kilometers I have on this one, which is about 1,100 kilometers. And I was actually, the pads were gone, and I was metal to metal, and I was actually wearing down the pistons because they were so far gone. So I'm hoping that's not the case on this one. I'm hoping that I caught them early enough, but we'll see once we get those off. So the 2 bolts that we're looking for to remove the caliper is this 15 mil right at the top here, and then down on the bottom, might not be able to see, but on the bottom side of the caliper, there's one underneath there as well. So we're just going to pop both of those off, and then that should release the caliper, and then we can pop the pads out. So I'll work on getting those off now. All right, so we got both of those loosened out. Just release them both. And they're in there with Loctite, so they will be a bit of a challenge to get out, but once they're out, then the caliper will just slide out there, and then we can access both of our pads there. So it looks like I still have pad left on both of these, so I'm actually pretty surprised at that with the same kilometers that these ones have held up, but I'm going to replace them anyway. Like I said, I'm at just over 1,100 kilometers on this machine, so I'll get them changed out, and I'll show you the next steps. So all we're going to do now is pop the pads off, pop the new ones on, and then reinstall everything. So now that we've got the caliper free, the next step to getting the pads out, and you see they're sort of free floating here now, but they're still held in place. There's a pin that goes across through each of the pads here, and there's a cotter pin here. So once we pull that cotter pin out, it's going to allow us to slide this pin out and then remove both of those pads there. So we'll pull off that cotter pin first, and then that should free up the pads. So I'll pull that out, and then this pin here sometimes you may need a tool. Yeah, actually I'll get a screwdriver to push that through, and then we'll be able to release the pads. Okay, so getting that pin out, I ended up just using a punch here, going in on the right side. So as we're on the back of the right side of the machine here, just going in through the right side, and it's going to push out to the left. So I just had the punch in the hole there and just tapped it with the wrench, and then that enabled the pin to come all the way through. So as you see, once that comes through, we'll take that out, we'll clean that up after, and then that's going to allow both of the pads to fall out here. And yeah, there's still some good life left on both of those pads actually, so that's good, because last time I was right down through the actual metal of the pad, and it had ground away on the pistons there as well. So I'm just going to wipe this all down and get this cleaned up, and then we'll push those pistons back and reset those and put the new pads in. So as I'm cleaning there, there's a little retention clip that helps hold the pads in. So that's going to go back up inside there, and it'll just clip into place once we get those pistons pushed back. So we'll do that now. I'm just going to use one of the old pad and a C-clamp, and I'm just going to push those back into place until they're flush with the outside of the housing there, the outside of the caliper. So what I'm doing here is I've taken the old pad that goes against the two pistons, I've just placed it back into place here, and then I've attached a C-clamp just against the pad and against the back of the caliper, and all I'm going to do is just slowly tighten this C-clamp until those pistons are just pushed back into the furthest back position so that they're reseated. We'll just do that slowly, and they should push back into place. We'll just go until they're flush, which it looks like they are now, so we can see that they're pushed back into place. I'll release the clamp off. And then pull that old pad back out, and there you can go. Now that those pistons are both seated back flush with the housing, and I'll just wipe around the edges now, just clean up the rest of the dirt there, and we'll put our new pads back in. All right, so I've got everything cleaned up around the caliper there. Everything's fairly clean. I'm going to take that small retention clip, that retaining clip, and put it back into place. It's just going to sit up in there. And then I'm going to take my new pads, so I'll start with the one against the pistons, which is this one here. And that's just going to go up into place and sit just like that. And it's going to hold that clip in place, that retaining clip. And then I'll take the second pad, and it's going to go obviously pad to pad, and the open end is going to go around this piece here at the top, and they'll just go in just like that. And you can see that there's some spring to the pads now, so that's what that retaining clip is doing. And once we get the pin put back through, which is going to hold the pads in place, it's going to hold tension against that clip. So from here, we just need to spin it around and put the pin back through, and then put the cotter pin back in. All right, so we'll hold that in place, and I'll get the pin put back through. And it's a tight fit, so we're going to need to tap it back through. Let's get a hammer, we'll tap that back through, and then put the cotter pin in. Okay, so once you get that tapped in, then we just need to rotate the pin so that we can see the hole where the cotter pin goes through, which is right there. And that's what's going to now hold that pin in place and prevent it from backing out. So we'll grab our cotter pin here, and we'll stick it through. And that's it. So that'll sit like that. That's all in place. It's still moving freely. The pin is rotating freely. Our pads are sitting properly. And then now all that's left to do is to put it back over the rotor. So we'll spread the pads there to fit over the rotor. And there we go. So they'll sit in place. And then we just attach those two 15 mil bolts back on, and we're done with the rear. Well, and that's it for the rears, guys. So that's all in place now, and we'll move up to the front. We're going to repeat the same process. I won't go through in quite as much detail, but that's all there is to replacing the rear here. So we'll get the tire put back on and move up to the front. One thing I forgot to mention just before I move on to the front is I am going to put some thread locker on these 15 mil bolts that are going in. There was thread locker on from the factory, so I'm just going to use some blue Loctite and just put a couple drops on there, and we'll reinstall those bolts, and then we'll move on to the front. All right, guys, so same thing up on the front here. I've got the tire off now, so we'll pop off those two 15 mils on the back. That'll free up the caliper, and then we'll work on removing those pads. These ones up here on the front right, these 15 mils are a little bit harder to get to with an impact. So I'm just gonna get in here with the breaker bar and break those free. There we go. So that's much easier with that, and then we'll just move over to a ratchet and finish that off. Okay, so we got both of those off. That'll release the caliper here. Clean that all up just like we did on the back one, and we'll catch up with you once we're ready to push those pistons back into place. All right, so I've got it wiped down a little bit in here, so what I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna get the pistons pushed back into place. Once those are pushed back flush, it's a lot easier to wipe the dirt and the mud and stuff out of there. So I'll use the old brake pad first to put back on there. So I'll just grab the old one here, just gonna wipe it off a little bit, and then put it back into place. And we'll use the C-clamp, so that's just gonna sit in place just like that. And then use the C-clamp again around the back side here. Just like that there. Just sort of as close to the middle as you can get on the pad there, just to evenly distribute the pressure. And then we'll tighten that, and those pistons will go back into place. And then I'm just going to loosen it off here and go in on the other side here and just make sure both of them are pressed into place. And then remove that pad, and there you go. So we got both of those pistons pushed back. I'll just finish cleaning up around here now and get the rest of that mud out that I can, and then we'll put the new pads in. Okay, so I've got that cleaned up now, so we'll just get the new pads put in there first. Before you put the pads in, don't forget to put that metal retaining clip back in. So we'll grab that, seat it in place right in there, just like that. And then we'll take our rear pad first, set it in place. So there's that one, and then the next one, and then we'll use that pin again that we took out. We'll feed it back in through both pads, and just make sure it's lined up with the hole there. And we'll tap that back in with the hammer, and then we'll put our cotter pin back through. Okay, so once that's through, we'll just spin it with the pliers here. We have that hole visible now, so we'll just rotate that to where we want it, and then use the cotter pin. And the cotter pin, when it goes in, the bent side of it that I'm holding onto here, it overlaps the frame of the caliper here. So it's just gonna go in just like this, push it into place, just like that, and it'll sit in that position when you're done. So that's the front one done now. So we'll just put it back in place. I'm going to put a couple drops of thread lock on the bolts, and we'll put those two 15s back in, and then we're done with this side. And we'll just tighten those up, and then we're done. And there you go. That's it for front right. The exact same thing on front left, and then we're done, guys. So same on the front, guys. On the left side, these 15 mils are a little bit harder to get to just because of the angle with an impact. So just going to get back in here again with the breaker bar and loosen these off. There's the one. And then we'll just get at it with the ratchet again and finish that off. And there we are. So once again, pop out that pin, we'll clean everything up and get the new pads put in. Okay, so there we go. So the pistons are pushed back flush. Just going to clean up everything in here. Take out that retaining clip. Just clean everything up in there. You can see quite a bit of mud caked up in here, so we'll get all that cleaned out and put the new pads in. All right, so we're in the final stretch. So I've got everything cleaned up in here. I'm going to put that retaining clip back in here. It's just going to sit up in that space right there. And then we'll get that first pad put in back there against the pistons. It'll click back into place, and you can see it has some play there because it has tension against that retaining clip. And then we'll get the other pad put in. Just like that. And then we'll get that pin put in across the top, and I've wiped this down as well and cleaned it up. So we'll push that through the top here, get it lined up, tap that through with the hammer. All right, so I've got the pin put through, so now we'll just use the pliers to line up that hole again for the cotter pin. And we'll just tap it a little bit, tap it in a little bit more. And then you can use our cotter pin again to go over the outside here, rotate it into place, and push your pin into place. And that's all there is to it. So we've got the space there, and we'll put it over top of the rotor, just like that. Line up your two 15 mils, and we're done. So again, a couple drops of thread locker on these two 15 mils, and we'll put it back together, and we're done, guys. So that's pretty much all there is to it, guys. Once you get, the first one done and you see exactly what you need to do and you get the hang of it, it's not much more than about 5 minutes for each break once you know what you're doing. So it's a pretty simple job. I'm not claiming that this is, the proper way to do it or how the manufacturer recommends you change your brakes. This is just the way I do it. So, use your own discretion in how you want to change them, and what method you want to use. I've been doing this on my last 4 machines the same way, and I've never had any issues. So all that's left to do now, I'll start up the machine, I'll give the brake lever a couple pumps, that'll reset the pistons and the new pads, and everything will be fine, and they'll work great. I just wanted to show you as well the old pads, because I'm really surprised at how much life is still left on these. So these are the rears and the 2 fronts, and they both have, or actually all 3, have a lot of life left on them. Like, I probably didn't even need to replace these. These almost look brand new with how much life is left. And I'm really surprised at that, because I have, I'll just load it up here, show you the odometer. If you can see, try and get the camera in there, 1,125 kilometers on here. My last machine, I had 1,140, and they were completely gone. And my machine before that I changed them at 540, and they were completely gone. So maybe on this machine, I'm just not using the brakes as much, but you know, I'm not sure exactly what it is. Maybe they're newer, different brake pads on the 23 versus my older ones, my 20 and my 21. But you know, I'm really happy with the wear on those. I probably would have got a lot more life, probably double the life at least out of these. But you know, just something worth checking, and I'd rather get them changed out and do some preventative maintenance for the cost and the time for brake pads. They're super inexpensive and easy to do. So hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave me a like and a comment. If I did something that you wouldn't recommend, or if you'd recommend something different or different procedure, leave it in the comments as well. Let me know, because I'm always looking to learn and do things properly. So that's going to wrap up this video. I hope you enjoyed it, guys. We'll see you on the next one, and take care.